Thanks for tuning in to MOT today, or the Honest Hour. Sorry, I totally butchered that. The Honest Hour. I'm your host, Luis Acevedo, and we have quite a bit to talk about today. The topics are going to be the GOP civil war, and then we also have the U.S. government, that is the Biden administration, is being sued by Louisiana and Missouri's attorney general for big tech censorship. And then we also have Hungary. They're getting it. Hungary is completely based. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the real Agenda 2030. And, then we'll have some conversations about the man that's taking over the internet right now, Andrew Tate. So to start off with, let's jump into what's going on with the GOP party. So this is in regards to the Ukraine-Russian war. Everybody has their opinions on it right now. Every time I bring up the fact that Russia is crushing Ukraine, everybody and their mother comes out and starts attacking me, saying that I'm a Russian shill, saying that I'm a Putin lover and that I should just move over to Russia if I like them so much, when I'm just merely stating the facts that, hey, everybody now can see it. Most Americans, there was a survey conducted, and I think over half of Americans now concede to the fact that Russia is winning the war despite the mass propaganda that's being disseminated by the mainstream media. And now what we're seeing is an internal fight in the GOP. So you have what are called the Ronald Reagan Republicans against the isolationist MAGA Republicans. And so the traditional Republicans, neocons, whatever you want to call them, are in favor of the continuation of the war between Russia and Ukraine. And the MAGA Republicans are like, yo, we spent over $40 billion, over $50 billion at this point, and now we're sending another $270 million in aid to Ukraine. And they're like, yo, I'm Hungarian, right on. Yeah, Hungary's based. I'm going to go over this article that Viktor Orban, however you pronounce his name, said. And yeah, who's going to win the Super Bowl this year? I have no clue. I don't even know the football teams. That's for MOT Sports, not me. Anyway, so the Republican Party that's supportive of Trump is like, yo, we do not want to spend any more money in Ukraine. It's going to waste. We should be spending that money back here in the United States. We should be spending that money here in the United States, building up our infrastructures, as opposed to sending it to a country that won't even be a country for long. You know, I'm not trying to be a doom and gloomer. There we go, Russian sympathizer. See, I'm not. I'm just telling you that this is what's going on. Like, why are we sending money to to Ukraine, when Ukraine's obviously losing the war, and we could be reallocating that money here at home? Like, just take a hands-off approach and let them do their thing. I mean, we've already instigated the war. We were a great cause of the war as it is now. So why not just say, you know what? Our plan didn't work out. Let's back out. And so there's a split. There's a rift between the Republican Party, right? So some Republicans are like, no, we must fight dictatorship, and Ronald Reagan would be ashamed. Ronald Reagan would be ashamed if we just gave up fighting Russia right now. When then the MAGA Republicans are like, hang on. How are we instigating? By sending Ukraine weapons, by telling them not to cease fire, by supporting Ukraine, by not just staying out of it. We should have stayed out of it. And they are still instigating the war. We just sent another $270 million. We have another $270 million military aid package being sent to Ukraine. Wait, you're pro-Russia? I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if they're bots or actual people I'm talking with, because it's so insane that anybody could come to the conclusion that I'm pro-Russia with what I'm talking about here. Anyway, so we could have saved more American lives if we helped Poland during. We could have saved more American lives by not getting into World War II. But they are being attacked. I don't get it. Should we stand by? It's not our business. It's none of our concern. And NATO is the one who instigated the war to begin with. Russia had just retaliated because of what Ukraine and NATO were doing for years. This is history. Just look through history. NATO and Ukraine have been or NATO specifically, the West specifically, have been provoking Russia for years, because their plan is to, what they want to do essentially is disembody Russia, fractionalize it up, take control of all of their all of their resources, the same that they want to do with Ukraine. That's why they wanted Ukraine, because it's so mineral rich. Germany declared war on us. We had to choose but to involve ourselves in World War II. Please learn. I was a history major. Trust me, I know this stuff. So, yeah, why not move to Russia or China? I told you, these must be bots, because I literally said this at the beginning. Anyway, just wanted to separate from Russia. No, so this is where you're wrong. So the eastern half of Ukraine wanted to go back to Russia. The western half of Ukraine wanted to remain Ukrainian, but the eastern half of Ukraine always wanted to go back to Russia. And then the western half of Ukraine started doing bad things to the eastern half of Ukraine. Very bad things. What you would consider them the Nizi for doing. Then why would you say we shouldn't have gotten involved in World War II when we were attacked first? I'm very dubious around the events of Pearl Harbor and if they're really organic. So, yes, it is true. You can deny it, but this is all coming out now. It used to be this crazy conspiracy theory. Yes, I mean, if you look at FDR and you look at the events it doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't know how organic the event at Pearl Harbor was. I'll just leave it as that. You know nothing. So anyway, have you read the World War II book? I have not. Whose side are you on? I'm on the side of human beings, on humanity. And so you're talking more conspiracies. Yeah, so I mean, that one is a conspiracy. I don't have any way to confirm it, but there's not very much evidence. Are you suggesting what? Yes, I am. It's very interesting. I don't know if it's organic or not. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, we're not going to get derailed from that. So basically what we're witnessing right here in the Republican Party, and this is something that I've mentioned numerous times, I said that if Donald Trump started another party to run in 2024, he would create a rift between the Republican Party, but that rift has already been created. And so what I think that we're witnessing right now is I don't even want to call it the evolution, but probably the devolution of the parties, of the political parties in the United States. So I think what we're witnessing is the Republican Party is going to become increasingly nationalist, right? Because they're going to get rid of all the neocons. They're going to get rid of all the, I don't even know if that's true, right? Because they just had that huge vote on marriage, right? And a lot of Republicans were in support of that particular vote. But here's what I think was ultimately going to happen. History is written by the victors. This is true. This is very true. Anyway, so what I think is going to happen is this. The Republican Party is going to morph into something new that's going to appear to be more nationalistic and for the American people. Conspiracy, not theory. Okay. No, I am. Oh, funny story. He asked if I'm Jewish. I always thought that I was just half Puerto Rican and then a mixture of a bunch of different European descent. But then I found that my dad took a DNA test and it came back that he was 6% Jewish. So I may be like 2%, 3%, maybe even more since my mother is European. Maybe even more. So I don't know. What do I think of Israel? I mean, obviously, I think the country as it is has the right to exist. Am I a fan of what they're doing, their foreign policy and how they're influencing America? No, I'm not. Am I a fan of dual citizenship, being able to run in Congress in America? No, I'm not. Anyway, so the Republican Party is morphing into something else, right? It's going to be the counter. Hungary is great if you aren't a minority. Sounds like Hungary's great all around then. I mean, Hungary is pretty based, So I think that what's going to happen is All the Republican Party is doing, all they ever have been, is a reaction to the left. The reaction to the left. That's the Republican Party. Reaction to the left. They're never proactive. Never, ever, ever. It's only the reaction to the left. So right now we're seeing a shift in the Democratic Party right now too. The old heads are getting out. The old heads are leaving. They're going. They're gone, right? And now you're going to have the AOCs, Ilhan Omar's, the squads of the world assuming power across the board. And so you're going to see a shift between the Democratic Party as well. It's going to morph into something else. And so then what we're going to see is a main focus of defunding the police and then funding the police. And so like that mixture right there between fund and defund is going to lead ultimately into the destruction of the police department. Okay? Because once you start compromising, you're giving them an inch, boom. All right? So then what else do we have? We have open borders, lockdown borders. So then what you're going to eventually get is a complete annihilation of borders, or what you're going to use, or what you're going to get is the atomization of the country, which I think is where we're heading, which I've already stated with the private security replacing police officers, and smart cities. City states will probably become a thing because of the United States as a whole breaking down. The left owns the media. Republicans are forced to react to Democrats. They're not. They could do their own media. It's insane to think that the Republicans can't. And when they try, they do the same thing as the left. It's a reaction. Young people have never assumed power in any nation, LOL, ever. So why would this happen now? I don't know that that's true. I don't know that that's true at all. I mean, there have been young kings throughout history that have assumed all the power of the nation. So the left and right are both trash. I agree with that. It is. It's not. There have been young rulers, like child rulers. They're actually Scally misbegotten. I think you may be cool. Are you an independent? Hey, what's the topics? Up here, Civil War, Republican Party, U.S. government for censorship. Hungary gets it. Hungary definitely supports Israel and everything it does. I don't know about that. You could be right. And if they do, then maybe they don't entirely get it. So Democrats, Republicans are the same. Good, bad. It's a game. I do agree with that. Are you independent? I don't know. I mean, I would consider myself a Christian nationalist that focuses on the local. I rather focus on local as opposed to the federal in my personal life. But obviously for these kind of shows, it's better to cover the national and have a better understanding as to what's going on and provide a good analysis as to the current conditions. So that's eventually what I think we're seeing with the Republican and Democrat Party. That's what's going on there. And then to go into a little bit about what Hungary's doing, because Hungary is based, let me tell you. Hungary really gets it. What does Hungary get? They get it. They get it. What was the director of the who arrested? I don't know what you're talking about. What are we discussing? We're now discussing Viktor Orban, the prime minister of Hungary. They get it. Let me tell you, they get it. I'm a big fan of Hungary these days. Dems are right wing, reps further right. I don't know. Extremists have infiltrated both parties. There's no middle anymore. Hungary gets it. Poland gets it too. I don't know about Poland. Do you believe a country should have laws? Of course a country should have laws. What Hungary gets is blatant. I mean, you can think that all you want. So right here, future Hungary will take Christian refugees from the West, from the border that is no longer Christian, and then they will shut their borders. That's what the prime minister of Hungary said. So the article goes, so basically what he's saying, Orban is profound. Okay, can you move to Hungary? Like, are they big fans of you? I don't know if they're big. Maybe, I have somebody who writes for MOT who's from Hungary. So, And they're accepting Christian refugees. They're going to have to accommodate Christian refugees. So, but it's from Western Europe. I wonder if they would consider the United States to be a good place to seek refuge from as well, since it's turning into a hellhole. Do you believed in the Constitution? And Hungaries aren't a real population. Hungarians aren't a real. I don't know about that. How are they not a real population? You could be right. I don't know. Do you believe in the Constitution? I believe there is a Constitution. Yes, there is a Constitution of the United States. Man said that refugee from the USA. So take refugee. I did, because the United States is falling apart. It's no longer, as it once was, a Christian nation, whether you like to think that or not. What does Christian nationalist mean? It means that I want a Christian nation. And Hungary appears to be a perfect example of the Christian nation. They aren't. Where do you think Hungarians come from? I don't know. I mean, my guess would be Russians, but I don't know. Am I right? I could be wrong. Are they Russian? They look like they have pretty Russian names. Are you pro Second Amendment? I like the Second Amendment. So anyway, basically he's like, things are going to begin deteriorating in our lifetime, but it's mainly for our children that we need to prepare what's going to happen. And what's going to happen is we're going to be seeking Christian refugees from the western half of Europe. And then after we do that, we must lock it down. They get it. They get it. They see the future. Thoughts on the military? Well, thoughts on the military. So if you're talking about the United States military, obviously a military is needed, but as it stands today, it is becoming very weak, converged, and I would never encourage anybody to join the military today. I think the only way to solve our issues is, I don't think that. Why didn't the founding fathers did away with slavery? I don't know. I mean, it was a part of their culture. They have no Slavic or European or etc. or etc. Hungary is a made-up place. Interesting. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit. You don't believe in freedom of religion? I mean, I think people should be able to practice, whatever religion. I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm torn on it. Like, you should have the right as a human being to worship Satan if you want to, and the material if you want to. But I don't want to live in a country that permits that, I'd rather live in the country where it's like, like the Muslims, they get it. The Muslims are like, you worship Allah or you just shut up. I like that. I respect that a lot. Do you think that tourism has destroyed the Holy Land? I can't even get into that. I don't even know that it's the Holy Land. But anyway, they're like a lot of mix of Asians. Interesting. They're not Russians. No, Russia. But not everyone here is Christian, so you not believe in freedom of speech. U.S. is super pagan. Blame the left. I blame more than the left. There's no such thing as an Hungarian. Do you support the Constitution? USA is turning it. Yes, it is. I'm just going back to see some comments that I missed here. They are not Russian. Okay. So I'll have to look more into the Hungarian race. What does Hungary get? They get that they need to separate themselves from the declining Western Empire. They get that. They're separating themselves and they are solidifying their roots. They recently passed something in their parliament stating that their people that go to the EU should be pushing for Christian values and to make it harder for just anybody to get in. Like, they should be voted in to the EU, that is. Not even Muslim, LOL, but that is just an opinion. Let's see. So there's a lot of comments today that I'm missing on. So let's just want Andrew Tate for president. Maybe. He's a pretty smart guy. I almost agree with all of your statements except that one. That's okay. The new gun legislation has women signing up for draft in it, and it passed. That's insane. That's anti-woman. Talk about, I will. LOLW hungry for sure. DeSantis for president. Ew. Is for insecure boys. Debbie. I don't even know that. Are you a dude or a woman? I've just joined. What's your thoughts on Andrew Tate? Yeah, I think Andrew Tate is the dude's a beast. I mean, come on. How can you hate on somebody? Okay, so here's the only thing that I may not agree with him so much on. So, like, I'm not against a man having multiple partners. I think that that's totally fine. You see it in all the religious scriptures. You see it throughout history, all the kings, etc., right? So there's obvious, and there's also logic behind it too, right? Like if a man has multiple women, he's going to know who the father is at all times, whereas the opposite isn't true. And even with the science that we have today, it's still going to be ambiguous until you have the science, right? And then who's to say that that's even accurate, knowing how science is working out today, right? So anyway, so I agree with all that. I agree with the mentality. I really like his approach on mental health. I really like his approach on life. I really like his approach on money. I do the same things with my money. You know, I'm a business owner myself. I'm doing pretty well for myself. And I have a very similar philosophy on money as he does. And I think that overall, he's a really good influence on young men to motivate them and to help dismantle some of the propaganda that's around there, because so many people want to debate studies and debate these things, and as opposed to just saying, well, what's real life? Like what we're seeing here is an intellectual warrior, because there are many people that are in the quote unquote warrior class, but they're not very intellectual. They can't articulate their thoughts very well. They can't explain things as coherently and as efficiently as Andrew Tate can. And so to have a man with that warrior mentality who's also an intellectual totally destroys the paradigms. I really appreciate that. Now, the only thing that I do not like about Andrew Tate is this. As I've already stated, I have no issue with a man having multiple partners. I don't think that's immoral whatsoever. Where I do have the issue is being extremely promiscuous, even with your multiple partners, right? So I think that if you're going to have a family, even if you're going to have multiple families, you should be consistent with them and not be, promiscuous in perpetuity, right? That's the only thing that I don't agree with what he talks about, right? That's the only thing. But everything else, I think the man gets it, and I think he's the top G. He's the top G, I'm hoping one day, I don't even know. I can't even say that because I'm not, who knows? Maybe one day I'll have a, I don't know. I was going to say maybe one day I could mention what color's my Bugatti, but I don't even think that I care about that enough to get a Bugatti. He's a warrior class with an intellectual specialization. SIF. He's helping simps wake up. He is. This is a fact. This is a big fact. He was not a good kickboxer. Okay. I mean, he's a Ponzi scheme wrapped in a multi-level marketing. That's insane. You obviously know nothing about Hustlers University if that's what you're going to say. No one smart respects him. Okay, men sleep with who they can, women sleep with who they want. Yeah, that is pretty true. But no, the Hustlers University definitely is not in a multi-level marketing scheme. You obviously have no clue what that is, because a multi-level marketing scheme is where you have, it's tiered, right? So it's like, oh, I'll sell this, and then somebody else gets in, and then I get rewarded for that. And then somebody else gets in from that person, I get rewarded for that. That's not how it works. So the affiliate link program, Amazon has an affiliate link program. A bunch of places has affiliate link programs. So that's just one thing. And then there's also, they teach how to copyright. They teach e-commerce. They teach Crypto and trading, multi-level marketing, bruh, that's a pyramid. It's not. So affiliate links, Amazon has affiliate links. So is Amazon an affiliate, a multi-level marketing scheme? No, that's insane because it's only one tier. So you don't get money off of somebody else's affiliate link. You only get money off of your affiliate link. People have no clue what multi-level marketing is. They have none whatsoever. An affiliate link is a very legitimate form of business. Every business has an affiliate link. Some dude with a beard hacked your account over the weekend. He did not hack my account over the weekend. That is Mick and James. They handle MOT Sports. Thank you for the concerns, though, but they did not hack the account. Crypto isn't good. His base fans are the same ones who are Homelander fanboys for, I don't even know. And just asking, I don't know what the heck you're saying, my man. How much money are you making through Andrew Tate? Be honest. I'm not in Hustlers University. I'm not in it. So zero. But I know people who are in it, who are making money from it, and if I think here's the other thing that we have a big issue with today. Nobody sees a problem with going to drop $50,000 a year at a big name university to get a return on investment of $40,000 a year. So you just spent $200,000 over the course of 4 years to make $40,000 a year. So it's going to take you 5-6 years to make your money back, but then it's going to take you how long to pay that debt back? Quite a bit. It doesn't make any sense. But if you spend $50, and you're making $500 a month from doing copywriting because you've learned that skill, dude, you're making 10x profit every month. That's huge. You're going to ignore the abuse. There is no abuse evidence. I mean, you guys are crazy. I love this. I don't love it. I mean, it's kind of disturbing how easily manipulated people are. I think really what it is so I think what it comes down to is this. When somebody is extremely confident in who they are, Tate is saving at least 25% of this generation. Yeah, I think he's a huge, huge asset. Are you in it to win it or just stay staked? I don't know what you're talking about. Just say you support I don't. Obviously, I don't. I love women. I have 3 daughters. I have a wife. Women are a big part of my life. So Andrew Tate facilitates the alt-right pipelines. Okay. I mean, okay. There's an alt-left as well. You know that, right? It's called AOC. It just means alternative. Are you pro-choice? No, I am not. I mean, yes, I'm pro-choice in that, like, hey, you can live your life. But as far as being pro-unaliving your child, I'm not. The anti-left is dope. That's your right. Nobody knows what the multi-level marketing scheme is, obviously. So I should probably do a whole thing on that because multi-level marketing schemes mean that you get somebody in, they get somebody in, you make money from that person getting something in, and then the person that you signed up gets in, they get money off of that. That's multi-level marketing, right? Affiliate marketing, you get one link. Somebody else uses that link. You get a percentage of that link. No, it's not. You obviously don't understand how affiliate marketing works. So one link for affiliate marketing. One person comes in. That person who signed up with your affiliate marketing link, they can't bring you any more money. They can get their own affiliate marketing link. Now you guys are separate affiliate marketers. There's no tiers. No, there isn't. You guys are missing the fact that the pyramid doesn't continue. This is one of the most pathetic lives these dudes drink. All right, you're out of here, reckless Hellcat. So, I mean, all right, let's see here. So, is a legal business program. This business model involves the sale of actual goods or services by distributors or participating in an MLM. Distributors get paid for those products and services of the MLM in the pyramid scheme. So there's multiple layers. So is Amazon a multi-level marketing scheme? No, they're not. They have one affiliate link. Can you explain how you got on this topic? Because people are saying that it's a multi-level marketing scheme and it's not. trying to start his own conspiracies. You're starting to look and speak like that thing called Tate. Okay. I'm just speaking how I speak. I mean, I've shared similar views as Andrew Tate way before I discovered who Andrew Tate was. So it was really refreshing to find somebody else who's is based. If you don't think this is a pyramid scheme, I have a bridge in Brooklyn for you to just sell. So is Amazon a pyramid scheme? I'm serious. Are they? Like, are you being for real? Like, affiliate links are not like they're not pyramid schemes. They don't own businesses, these fools. Then just use Amazon. You could. Hungry has it correct. Hungry does have it correct. So you don't believe in capitalism, or do you? Well, I mean, the way you're asking the questions are kind of silly because, of course, I believe in capitalism. Capitalism exists in America. But you could also ask me, do you believe in communism? And I'd be like, of course I believe in communism. It exists in China. Can you explain how you got on this topic? What is the meaning of this live? Well, we were covering the news and some of the things that were going on regarding the Republican Party being divided. And then we were also talking about Hungary being based. And please define communism for me. I don't have to define anything for you. What's your favorite brand of microwave? Don't have one. Where do you come up with your philosophy? I don't know. I mean, through the things I read and my thinking and my observations, these folks always sells. They won't get an L. Lizard people, Amazon is a monopoly. Tate has like 95% of my own thoughts. It's crazy to relate so much. Yeah, he definitely gets it. He's definitely not a bad. I mean, he could be a bad guy. I don't know his personal life. Hungry leaders just advocate for preventing race mixing. Okay. Is your postman watching you? I don't know. Maybe. Capitalism is a beast of burden. We are in late stage capitalism and it will end soon. We'll find out, won't we? Do you plan on running for office someday? I don't know. I thought about it in the past when I was younger. I helped out quite a bit in the local political scene here where I'm at. But I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, she does. She does. It's insane. I don't even know why she would run. But AOC, guys, AOC may be running in 2024. Whoa. What does Hungry get? They get that the West is falling apart and they need to separate themselves from the West. And they're becoming a extremely Christian nation based. Tate has left the UK to avoid 11 SA charges. The Lorax is coming true, by the way. Interesting. Birds are working for the government. Oh my God. You know, I think that those people that claim birds aren't real, I think that they're the biggest trolls in the world. And people are falling for it. Left and right. Left and right, people are falling for the fact that they claim that birds aren't real. They can't believe that either. There's no way, because I know people that go, duck hunting. Ducks are birds. I've eaten birds. So, they know that can't be legit, and they're just trolling people. Or what they're trying to do is troll people into looking up what they're saying, and then come to find out that, okay, well, there actually are some things in the government that they use as spies, like insects. There could be some robotic birds, but not all of them are not real. It's insane. It's insane. It's a CIA psyop, probably. Hey, what's going on?
How you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Good. Well, thank God you know people that go duck hunting.
Yeah.
Otherwise, maybe you'd believe it, right?
Right.
I want to know, tell me about how Hungary gets it.
Yeah, so I've already explained this several times. I don't know when you got in here.
Yeah. I was in here like when you were talking about Andrew Tate.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you want to, I'll just keep it short. Basically, they get that the West is declining, and they're becoming increasingly Christian. They probably have been Christian for quite some time, but I'm just now looking into it, and this is what I'm discovering. And they're just preparing for the decline of the West and separating themselves.
What do you mean for that, the decline of the West?
What we're seeing right now, the Western elites, not the elites, but the Western powers, Europe, the United States, they are no longer going to be at the top of the global superpower list. The dollar will eventually fall. The European nations are going through a lot of issues themselves. The United States is going through a lot of internal strife. As I covered in the beginning of the show, the Republican Party is experiencing an internal civil war. The Democratic Party is experiencing an internal civil war. And so you have a bunch of you have the political parties that are going to split, create new political parties, probably under the same names, but totally different belief structures. Right. And then you're experiencing the same thing in the European nations as well. You're experiencing people want to break away from the EU. And so things are just coming apart for the Western nations. At the same time, things are coming together for the Eastern nations such as China and Russia.
Well, China and Russia are pretty different, but
they are.
What Hungary is doing is they're eliminating any form of democracy that they had, and kind of going into what we would call like a right wing, or some even say fascist dictatorship.
I don't know that
Would you agree with that?
I don't know that fascist is the right word. I think an autocracy would probably be a better word for it. And maybe they're even going towards a monarchy eventually in the future.
Yeah, it's very possible. Well, fascism and monarchy have a lot of similarities.
But you can say the same thing with communism and fascism as well, and communism and monarchies as well. So that argument is...
How is communism similar to fascism?
Yeah, so with fascism, you have the private corporations that are still private, but they're basically controlled by the government, and they're extremely nationalistic. Okay. And then with communism, the state is just saying no more private companies, we're going to assume everything. So essentially, they could work out somewhat the same. They're not entirely the same. They're different ideologies, they're different beliefs, obviously. But my point is that you can label a monarch a communist as well if you wanted to. Just like you can label a monarch a fascist if you wanted to as well. But a monarch is also distinct from fascism and communism. That's my whole point. So you can't fairly equate the two as you just did.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Okay.
Sure. Let me ask you a quick question about communism. Your knowledge about communism ideologically and communist and socialist societies. Have you read any socialist theory? Have you read Marx, Engels, Lenin, Trotsky? Have you read these guys?
Yep, I've read Marx's work.
What have you read?
I've read the Communist Manifesto. I've started to read, I think it's called Wages and Labor by Marx. I've read Mao's biography. I've watched quite a few documentaries and lectures on Stalin. I've read a little bit of the book that I have on Stalin. I'm really, really big into Chinese history. So I've read a lot about the revolution, or the civil war rather, that took place in China. So I would say I have a intermediate amount of knowledge.
Let me ask you the definition of socialism and the definition of communism, if I may ask.
The means of production is socialism to the people. And then communism is where so socialism is the economic policy essentially. And then communism is the governmental theory essentially, where the government is going to assume everything.
Okay. So I'm a communist.
Yes, you can join after he gets off. We only have one person at a time, or else we get too crazy. Anyway,
so
you were saying.
I'm a communist. All right. I'm also a former conservative.
Okay.
So I understand the thinking of both sides. I've been there. And may I say that, after reading the material, we come to a different conclusion of what it actually is. A lot of times in this country, we're very propagandized. And the message that we're all told is communism is state ownership. And we don't even really know what socialism is. And you kind of gave me the kind of propagandized United States.
No, that's the definition. That's the definition of socialism. It's returning the means of production to the people. That's the definition.
So let me clarify. Socialism, there's a state, okay? There's a state where the means of production are owned by the people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean state ownership, and it's actually not supposed to be state ownership.
I clarified the difference between socialism and communism, by the way. Just saying.
No, because your definition of communism was completely off.
Okay. That's not, but okay.
So let me tell you, communism is a classless, stateless, borderless society. There is no state in communism. So there's no government ownership. There's no state. It's a stateless society. So,
no, that's anarchy.
Well, anarchy and communism have similarities, but in anarchy, they want to have a society with absence of hierarchy. In communism, we're not really looking for the absence of hierarchy because we understand that there are some natural hierarchies that exist, but we want to see absence of classes.
Yeah, so I get that. That's what Marx preached, but that doesn't mean that you do away with the states. If you have hierarchies, you're obviously going to have differences of people. So that's what makes it an incoherent system even to begin with. But there still is a state. De facto, you have to have a state if you have communism, or else you fall into anarchy. So to say that there is no state is illogical. There would have to be a state. In order for communism to even exist, there would have to be. And then that institution that is governing, the governing body, whatever you want to call it, is going to assume the resources, which is supposed to be delegated to the people fairly.
Well, look, this is the thing. And this is where, if we went 200 years ago and we spoke to the conservatives of that day to try to imagine what capitalism would look like, they would say, that's not possible. That's not how it would be. But we're talking about a system that we are trying to transition to. We're trying to transcend.
Why are we talking about this anyway? This has nothing to do with any of the topics here, by the way.
Well, I'm looking at how Hungary gets it.
Okay.
And you said that fascism and communism are similar, but they're ideologically completely antithetical.
Well, what I said is that they have similarities, just like I think we agreed on that there could be similarities. And the only reason I brought that up is because you said monarchies could be considered fascist. And then I said, well, monarchies could also be considered communist. So we don't need to go around trying to talk about debating socialism, communism, how you became a conservative, any of that. So Hungary gets it in my perspective. There we go. They get it. Why do they get it? Because they're shutting down the borders eventually. And they're saying that, hey, the Western powers, as I've already listed out for you, explained for you very well why the Western powers are failing. And Hungary sees that. Hungary sees that the Muslim nations are rising up because the Muslim nations are pretty based. They see that the Chinese nation's raising up because the Chinese nation's pretty based. They see Russia's rising up because Russia's pretty based. And so they're like, well, the Western democracies are failing because they've gone woke. And so let's separate ourselves from them. They get it.
I understand that, but let me just clarify that under fascism, there's a central leadership. There's a central figure.
Who cares about that? Nobody's talking about fascism. We're talking about Hungary getting it. And Hungary right now is not a fascist country.
Hungary is transitioning to fascism, though.
They could be switching over to an autocracy. They could be switching over to a monarchy. I can make similar arguments for that, just like you saying that they're switching over to a fascist. So what don't they get? Why don't you think they get it?
Well, I don't agree with fascism. I don't agree with that type of a system.
So you do
I
understand.
don't agree with any of the 14 defining characteristics of fascism. I think they're very dangerous, and I think those kind of societies always lead to a lot of violence and repression.
And you don't think that communism leads to a lot of violence and oppression? You're insane.
No, I'm not insane, because if you look at what socialist societies have done,
I have. So I'll give you a beautiful argument for Stalin right now. Stalin and Lenin, by the way. So Lenin got into office, the first one, boom, OG. He was like, yo, Bolsheviks, we took over. We took over with the small hats. I got to be careful what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be derogatory in my terms. I just can't say the term on here. So I have to refer to them because the censorship is ridiculous. We took over with the small hats. Awesome. So now the small hats and that are non-Russian and the Russians took over the Russian government. Cool. We eliminated the Tsar. We got rid of his entire family, children and all. Wow. We louned them up. Boom, 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 boom. All gone. Their young children, their wives, everybody gone. Bang. Lenin in power. All the academics that were in support of Lenin. Cool. Y'all support me? Awesome. Guess what now? I want to get rid of all the intellectuals. Y'all go off on a boat and you're out. You're out. They all died eventually. Then Lenin took over. Lenin assumed power, and they started to make this transition into the industrial age, because in Marxist theory, the Soviets were debating with Marxist theory. Hey, Marx says that we need to go through a capitalist phase and then go through the communist phase. But what if we skip over?
Socialist, you mean? Socialist.
No, whatever. Communist, socialist, whatever. So first, we need to go to a capitalist phase, and then we go over to socialism, communism, whatever you want to call it. And then there were other Russians that were like, no. We can skip over the capitalist part. We can skip over it entirely. And the Russians that were like, we need to go through this phase, like this is the logical order, they got offed. Okay, they were offed. Boom. So much violence, by the way. So right away, very insane. No tolerance of outside thoughts. No toleration. Anyway, so then we continue. Then Stalin comes in. Propels Russia into the industrial power that it is today. Cool. He did great work. He did great work in propelling the Soviet Union into an industrial power that Russia is today. Okay? Cool. Awesome.
Right.
At what cost, though? At 60 million lives, maybe in Russia alone.
60 million.
Through a bunch of wars. Yeah, I mean, there's different estimates, right? So we can go through.
Where did you get that estimate? That's a new one.
Yeah, so there ranges, right? So there's a range of total amounts of deaths. So, anyways, there's a range, and the range is pretty big. It's tens of millions.
Well, it's really important that we stick to not 60 million.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's insane. It's insane. It's an insane amount. Okay, so I accurately depicted the way the Soviet Union came to be. And the industrial age in Russia, how it came to be. Mao had a similar system. He said, yo, we're going, and they were funded by Stalin, okay? Because the Chinese were in a civil war with the Nationalist and the Communist Party. The United States were funding the Nationalist Party. The Soviet Union later on started supporting the Communist Party. And then Mao became a puppet for Stalin, essentially. And so they did. I'm telling you, I read he definitely did, whether he wanted to or not.
When Stalin actually had a lot of beef, there was a
Sino-Soviet split. Yes, they did. But ultimately, Russia was pumping in a lot of money, and then Mao had to succumb to a lot of the things Russia said. Just the same way that, so for instance, the United States tried to do the same thing to China, and Britain tried to do the same thing to China. And guess what? Because of the things that they try to force on China, China gave up Shanghai, China gave up Hong Kong, China gave up Taiwan, but China overall remained China. Okay. So yes, I get it. You can make the same argument for Stalin. I get it. They were never really puppets, but they were beholden to powers greater than them. That was what I was trying to emphasize with Mao and Stalin.
Can I give you my thoughts?
Okay. But anyway, this has nothing to do with Hungary getting it. So, okay.
Well, it does, because fascism needs to be opposed. And
as does communism. I just told you that communism should be opposed.
Can you let me speak? You spoke for like 10 minutes. And
I'm going to keep speaking.
Have a respectful conversation. You're not going to let me speak?
I suppose, but I'm waiting for this to get back on context here.
Oh, it's definitely on context. because I'm responding to something that you said and in opposition of one of the things that you have. So anyway, when we talk about socialism, we talk about societies that have tried to transition to the next phase based on worker ownership of the means of production. Okay, now what has happened when any socialist society has tried to transition to that system, they come under attack by the entire capitalist world. Okay, in the Russian Civil War, even the United States sent 200,000 soldiers over to attack it. Same thing with Cuba, Vietnam. We know the United States killed a third of the Vietnamese people. Cuba, we had the Bay of Pigs. We had Operation, what was this? There was an operation where there was a series of church bombings, an airplane attack where a passenger airplane was attacked with Cuba. And these societies become inherently authoritarian because they are under constant attack by the world's largest military superpower. Now, when the United States was attacked, when a U.S. military base was attacked on a U.S. territory in World War II, the United States put every single Japanese American in concentration camps. That's what happens when nations are attacked. The United States kind of overreacted, didn't they? Then they dropped an atomic bomb on Japan. You have to understand that let me give you an analogy. Say I buy a house and I have all these plans to fix up this house. And the biggest bully in the neighborhood says, I don't want this guy here. I don't like what he's trying to do. So he sets fire to my house. He burns my house down. Yeah. And then instead of trying to fix up my house, I'm busy trying to put out the fire and it's not working. And then this bully goes around the neighborhood and says he set fire to his own house. And these societies become inherently authoritarian because they are under constant attack and can't put out the plans that they originally set out. So socialism is not meant to be state ownership because we inherently oppose the state. We believe the state is inherently a tool of violence. But we understand that unlike anarchists who want to completely abolish the state, that we need to have a transitional period because the state will inherently become evil and violent. So the solution is trying to transition to that society where the workers or the community owns the means of production. There is no ultranationalism like fascism. There is no uncritical support to police and military. There is no misogyny or patriarchy in a socialist society. There is no leaning on religion, which has always been used as a tool of oppression of people. Religion is another tool of oppression and control. These are all aspects of fascism, which socialists oppose. So to make them synonymous or similar, they are absolutely different societies.
Okay, this once again, what like you're acting as if I'm supporting either side. I'm not supporting communism or fascism.
Okay, it just looks like you are when you say Hungary gets it.
Yeah, I do say that Hungary gets it. I think that autocracies.
So in a way you are?
No, how is Hungary become fascist? Name some economic policies that they've implemented. School me on this.
Well, they are extremely neoliberal. Neoliberalism has been a tool of fascists in the last.
So explain it to me.
Years.
So explain it to me. Give me policies. Give me some social standards. Give me some actual evidence aside from using your words.
There's a central leader who is abolishing democracy. There are neoliberal policies where the state is in completely intertwined with capital and deregulation. Yeah, I mean that's about enough.
So hang on, you do know that
suppression of minority groups,
but you do know that
suppression of leftist groups.
So I mean, communist states get rid of democracies all the time too.
No, they don't.
China doesn't have a democracy.
They have a different form of democracy, but it's not that they don't have a democracy.
Yeah, that's silly. I could say the same thing about Hungary. You know that the new prime minister was voted in via democracy, right?
No, because he imprisoned most of his opposition.
Okay, so I see how this conversation is going to go. We're gonna say you're gonna say the opposite to what I'm saying, and then I'm going to say the opposite to what you're saying. I'm just simply trying to point out the hypocrisies in your argument, and you're trying to defend your argument by using something that it doesn't make any sense to me, but that's okay. So, hey, man, thank you very much for coming on.
But
no, I get it. It's hard. It's
a little bit hard to understand.
No, it's hard for you to understand, and that's okay. I get it.
Fascism needs to be opposed, and I hope that it's
all right. Let's get somebody else on. That was getting kind of boring. All right. Doesn't want on. All right. That's cool. So, yeah, I mean, this is silly. LOL, this is what happens when you don't read books. Okay. The left is fascist. There's a good argument for that. No, it's hard for you to understand. Get on me. Yeah. You got to shut him off because he was beating you. No, definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely not. It was insane what he was saying. I mean, he was like, okay, yeah, Stalin got rid of a bunch of people. Lenin got rid of a bunch of people. And that's okay. But you know what we need to get rid of? We need to get rid of fascism, because fascism gets rid of a lot of people too. Are you pro Andrew Tate? Yeah, I think Andrew Tate's good. No good argument for left being fascist, seriously. This is when you read so many books, too many books from your professor. Yeah, I agree. Mao got rid of a bunch. I know, it's insane. Like, I literally explained the rise of communism and socialism in Russia better than he did. I made a good argument for Stalin industrializing the Soviet Union, but to not understand that communism and socialism brought about a lot of horrors is insane. Let's see. Andrew Tate is seriously a dangerous individual. Yeah, I mean, I would not want to fight him. The left tried mandating a product for corporation. Yeah, I mean, come on. Oh, hey, I remember I mentioned him a while back on a live. How are you? I'm good. And yourself? Andrew Tate? Yeah, Andrew Tate, he gets it. You don't need communist on your show. I don't, yeah. Top G. Andrew Tate is a top G. America is not now, nor have been a democracy. This is true. He's a retired kickboxer. This is true. This is true. Individual revolution brought a bunch of horror, both capitalism and socialism. I totally agree with that. I am not for revolutions, by the way, guys. I am anti-revolution. We have one king for life. We obey the king.
Yo, what's up, dude?
What's going on?
Not bad. I just wanted to talk to you about Andrew Tate. You said he gets it.
Yeah.
Like, what does he get?
Pretty much everything that he says.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, you're gonna have to.
What? Like.
So why don't you just start telling me what you disagree with and why? It's going to be much easier.
I mean, it's hard to like go through the entire. Like, I don't have like a perfect inventory, but like one of the I don't know, the dumbest things I've heard him say was that he doesn't read books. On top of that, like that debate that he was having with Hassan Piker, where he was saying something about like science and like, I only trust the things that are in front of me or whatever. It just it seems kind of bullshit.
Okay, so it's definitely not. I mean, if you watch enough of his content, you see that he is a well-read individual. First off. So to say that you don't, I know a lot of very intellectual people, by the way, like super high IQ people
Yeah.
personally, who don't really prefer to read, but that doesn't mean that they don't read. They're like, I don't really like reading.
Oh, I mean, I agree. I have ADHD. I prefer like audiobooks. But he wasn't just against books. He was against anything that contradicted his personal experience.
And really quick, well, I'll go into that in a second. But BX Prol, this is exact like you, my man, you are the example of what we would call a gamma male. Like you say, thanks for having me on, smiley face, and then you come back and then you start saying, oh, host doesn't read books, like so passive aggressive. And this is why, like, who would follow you? What man would follow you being so passive? It makes no sense. Anyway, so the whole personal experience thing, I agree with him on some level because you need to be able to trust your own instincts. And I think the greater point he was making here is that you are, and what I mean by you, I mean, generally speaking, you are in society today told, don't trust your instincts, listen to the professionals, listen to the experts. Whether you agree with that or not, maybe you think for yourself, but you can very well see what I'm saying in the mainstream media, in the zeitgeist of today. It's trust the experts, trust the experts. Forget what you see, forget what you think, trust the experts. And we saw a lot of corruption with that over the past couple of years, whatever side you take, a lot of corruption.
So do you believe in, like, so you said you agree with to like a certain degree, right? But he was pretty absolute about it, right? Like if it's not in front of him, right, he doesn't believe it. That's why what's his name asking him about, like, so like if you're saying there's like a middle ground, right? He's saying absolutely no, and you're saying there's some. It sounds like to me, right, where you're saying he's sort of right, meaning he's also sort of wrong. So therefore, there are some things.
I don't think that. I don't think that he's wrong. I think that what is being, I think it's being taken out of context by people that either one, they are too triggered to allow them to see past what he's doing, or two, they're not intelligent enough. I think that those are the two things that could be happening. And you, and probably Hassan, I don't really like Hassan very much. I think he's a tool, but that's a whole other thing. I think that
like Hassan either.
probably
politics, I just think he's kind of a dish.
I think that you and maybe not you, but definitely Hassan and people who are agreeing with Hassan that are intelligent or maybe a little more intelligent are probably just too triggered by everything else he says, and the fact that he's so quick to say, yo, I don't care what your study says every day in my life, which guess what? I was like, man, I wish I could have hopped in on that, because I would have sent a beautiful study that was conducted by the University of Michigan. I did a whole stream on it, actually, because I was like, yo, why is it that the Muslim countries don't let women drive? And so I started doing some research, and there was a multi-year study conducted by a couple professors at the University of Michigan. And they found that while, yes, men are deadlier drivers, they get into more fatal car crashes, but they found that 65% of all car accidents in total, fender benders, minor ones, little dings pulling into a parallel parking, intense moments where you got to like swerve a little bit, 65% of those were caused by women. But the reason insurance rates are higher for men is because they're more dangerous than women. They're more likely to cause somebody to die and cause bigger damages. But
by those metrics, I would say that men are worse drivers then. Like if women are only getting dinged up, right, and men are killing themselves.
Well, no. So what I would say to this, men are the
worst.
What I would say to this is that men are more likely to be at the extremes of either side. And so whether it be, well, not on either side, but yeah, so men are more likely to take risk. They're more likely to be extreme in general, where women, they're more so passive, right? Women are more so passive. That doesn't mean that women can't be extreme either. That doesn't mean that women can't do wonderful things either. Women do a lot of wonderful things. But what I'm getting at here is that men are more likely to be like, I can go skydiving than a woman would go skydiving. I'm not saying me, I'm just saying men in general. Like, so men are more likely to participate in extremely dangerous behaviors than women are. I don't know many women who street race, but I know a lot of dudes who street. I said, I don't know a lot of women. I don't know one single woman actually that street races. Not to say that there isn't one, but I know a handful of guys, probably two handful of guys who used to street race or currently do. So it's like, I don't know any woman, though. I don't know any woman who would want any part of that. Not to say that there wouldn't be, but men are just more likely to do more extreme things.
So would you say that men are better or worse drivers?
Overall, men are better drivers. Overall.
Despite the fact that more of them die, though? It seems like that's like a huge like knock.
Yeah,
like,
so
just like if
So, but
like a
most
point system?
accidents are caused, over 2/3 of accidents are caused by women. And the accidents that are caused by men, it doesn't mean that they're dying every
Yeah.
time, but they can be, and they are more likely to because they're going to be a little more crazy, probably. But ultimately, men are better under pressure because we have a different wiring. Men are supposed to go to war, women are not supposed to go to war. So the way men handle stress, the way men handle intense moments are totally different than the way a woman would.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of irrelevant to the point. Like, if we're trying to
No, it's totally relevant.
way too different. Wait, hold on. If we're trying to weigh two different things to determine what makes a better driver, right? I don't see how having something happen more frequently at a less severity is worse than having something happen less frequency at a higher severity, right? I could say men are worse drivers because they kill themselves more often, or because they have worse car accidents, and as a result, they probably endanger other people, right? So it's not just them that they're hitting, right? They're probably hitting other people too, right? Not all the time, but still.
I don't know. I mean, I know definitely. I think that men are better drivers than women. In my personal experience, there's a reason why countries outlaw women from driving, other than religion.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, first of all, I think I've only been in one accident with a man, but I've been in several accidents with women. And I know that I'm using, you could say, the same argument Andrew Tate did, but I'm just looking at my personal life, and I see that that's to be true. And then I also look at my personal life from other people in it outside of myself, but people I know. And first off, every accident I've been in has been caused by a woman. Secondly,
okay,
every accident I know of anybody else, maybe except for maybe one or two, has also been caused by a woman, whether they be minor or major. So, I mean, my personal experience. So that's the thing. That's why I'm saying I agree with him a lot on that point. Is that I want to believe my personal experience. I want to believe my own pattern recognition. And then also I could find studies. This is the whole point of me bringing this up. I could find studies that would align with my personal experience. However,
but
I would much rather.
Why are you weighing one worse than the other, though? Why are dings worse to you than dying?
Well, once again, what I'm saying, obviously that's not a fair comparison. But what I'm saying is that women tend to be more. So first off, any accident can be dangerous. So if you have more accidents, you're more likely to get injured. You're more likely to get hurt. You could die, right? So I mean, that's not really a fair thing to say. And yes, you can call it confirmation bias, and that's my point. Actually, is that everybody is going to be able to check, because with science today, because I did a whole episode on this, and Joey, I think you were with me on that, about the scientific reproducibility crises that's going on in science. So today, everybody has the luxury of saying, this is my belief. I'm going to go find a scientific study to confirm my belief. And they can do that.
Why do you think that happens? The replication crisis. Why do you think that happens?
We've already talked about this. We're not going over this again. It has a lot to do with finances. It has a lot to do with confirmation bias. It has a lot to do with corruption. It has a lot to do with a lot of things that are making science as a whole not. I don't want to say science is irrelevant, because the scientific method is very much useful, but it's making science as the field, as the industry, very useless, because anybody can use it to confirm their biases today, because there's going to be a study supporting it. And so my whole point with bringing up the University of Michigan, 65%, is that, hey, I can show you evidence the other way too. But I think the bigger point here is that, hey, we should all be adults. We should all trust our instincts. We should not, maybe not every time, but we should all be willing to trust our eyes and trust what we see and trust what we observe. And if we notice a pattern, and that pattern is reproducible to you, you're conducting your own little form of science. Like, let me test this out. Boom, boom, boom. I see this pattern. Let's test, repeat, test, repeat, test, repeat. The pattern exists, at least in my life, in my world,
have you ever heard
in
of
my
Joseph
environment.
Heinrich?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever heard of Joseph Heinrich?
The name sounds very familiar.
I think he was like an engineer. he wrote this book called The Secret to Our Success, and basically just talks about like knowledge systems and science and the way that like sort of society functions, right? Just the reason that I bring this up is that one of the things that's integral to society is being able to outsource trust and your life experiences to the people around you, right? So, for example, if I go and I go out into the woods with like my brother and he gets bitten by a snake, right? That's a particular type of color, right? I'm able to then go back to my village and then give that piece of information to everybody else that could then perpetuate the group, right? So like basically what I'm saying is that like to some degree you always need trust, right? Like a mechanic, right, isn't gonna like become a chemical engineer to know all the like fucking fuels that he puts into like a vehicle or whatever, or he doesn't have to be like a mechanical engineer. He doesn't need to do any of those things. He just has to like be really good at his little what's it called, like system of knowledge, which is embedded in another system, right? Which like he would only be able to do if he trusted the engineer below him, right?
Yep, I totally get where you're going.
Relying on just our personal, but what I'm saying is like if we're constantly relying on just our personal sort of like experiences and discounting like anybody that's out there, right? Which, sorry, continue.
No. So I don't think that that's the whole point here. So you got to extrapolate it out because you made a really, really good point. And so if you extrapolate that out, you then see that the community that you're within, you have to trust as well, right? So this makes sense. But the issue is, on the greater scale, like I don't even want to get into the greater debate of trust in society at large in America, but there is no trust. Therefore, who the hell can you trust? You just don't. So anyway, the point with your personal observations, it's like, okay, well, if I personally observe this, and then the people around me also observe this phenomenon, there we go. People I trust also see the same pattern. There we go. I have a consensus amongst the people that are in my community. And then obviously, to your point, there should be experts in your community, right? If somebody in my family needed their brakes done, needed something done in their car, bring it to me. I'll do it. Okay. So yes, there is a level of trust in your certain competency. The biggest thing is that and no, it's not called an echo chamber. You got that totally wrong, because what if it was the reverse? I see a pattern. The people I trust don't see that same pattern. I'm the one seeing something that may not be there, or I may be more perceptive than the other two people around me. Then you just have to know. So anyway, yes, extrapolate that out to your communities. As you know from our last conversation, if you remember, I'm big into local communities. I think that local communities are key to success. And so, of course, you should have people around you that you trust, and that if they observe the same pattern as you, then you can be sure that that pattern is a reality, at least in your environment. And then if they don't agree with you, then it is what it is.
It's like when you say my local community, like, or your local environment or whatever, right? You're sort of pruning yourself off from like the greater network, right? So if somebody in your community, or if nobody in your community can, I don't know, do physics or do some really specialized thing, right? You've basically just blinded yourself to that whole field, right? And from the fucking debate that he was having, right, he completely like disregarded like basically science, right? Any other's opinion over his initial reaction to what he thinks the truth is, right?
And I think that was a good response. I think that's a good response in today's age. We need to just be able to, if a man says, yo, I don't really care what you're saying, dude. I think it is what it is. Accept it. There's no need to try to beat a dead horse. There's no need. Even if they're wrong, who cares? Who cares? He could be totally wrong.
Oh, we got pancakes.
Yep, he could be totally wrong. But who cares? That's his opinion. That's what he thinks. And so let it be.
I mean,
you wouldn't be. So this is the issue today. I'm a young buck. I'm 26, but I grew up around legitimate OGs, and I mean OGs in the true words, in the true meanings of those letters. I grew up around men that were very much like Tate in a lot of ways, and you would never, ever, ever try to force any of them to agree with anything you're saying if they disagreed with it. You wouldn't. That would be wrong. They would be like, this is disrespectful. You can try to school me on this, but I'm not having it. So I don't want to hear it. So whether or not you think Andrew Tate was right or wrong, it doesn't matter. He doesn't accept what you say. That is what it is. You can say that's a problem for society at large. But guess what? Nobody gives a damn, dude, because I'm still going to live my life. You're still going to live your life. He's still going to live his life. Who cares? And if you say it's going to ruin society,
right?
It's going to ruin society.
But here's the thing. Okay, but what about something like climate change, right? Something that endangers all of us, right? Like, to ignore this thing is to basically fucking condemn us to death.
Yeah, that's a belief, but that's okay.
You don't believe in climate change?
Climate change is obviously real, but to the extent what you're talking about is insane, literally. But that's okay.
You don't think really? Do you know what the class rate gun is?
Here we go. I already told you. I know that climate change is real. I get the whole argument behind climate change. I'm not going to get into a climate change discussion with you. Okay, so yes, I already addressed your point already. I said it's going to ruin society. It's going to condemn us. It's going to do this and that. Guess what, my man? You can make your own decision. Here's what you can do if you're so concerned. This is my point. This is what you're not understanding.
You're making a decision based on ignorance,
though. This is my point, and you're not understanding. People, if you have this huge concern for climate change, for instance, right? If you have a huge concern for climate change, then why not form a community of people that are working really hard in your community to combat climate change and do what you can? Do that. Do your part.
Because this is something that is occurring on a global level, right?
Then you're fucked.
Compartmentalize in ways.
Then you're fucked because you're never going to get
You're fucked. We're all fucked.
You're never going to get.
This is suicidal.
It's not. I mean, I'm going to have great grandchildren. So I'm going to be cool.
You're not.
I guarantee you.
And how do you know this?
God willing.
If you don't know what I'm asking.
God willing, I will have great grandchildren. They will live through if there's an ice age, the Acevedo name will continue. If the world turns into a firing ball of hell, my lineage will continue. The Acevedo name will reign supreme forever.
How do you falsify your beliefs? What? How do you falsify your beliefs? How do you stress test whether or not you know what you know?
Obvious. I mean, I don't even want to go through these conversations, but obviously you're going to test what you believe. You're going to do your research. You're going to study. You're going to see if you can see the patterns. Can you do the studies yourself? Or do you have to default to experts to see, all right, what are the experts' opinions on this? What are the experts' theories on this? Do they contradict or confirm what I'm saying? If they confirm what I'm saying, cool. If they contradict what I'm saying, cool. Why do they contradict what I'm saying? I want to know why I have this wrong. Okay, so I get the whole process.
We talked about Thomas Kuhn, right? Remember that?
We talked about what?
Thomas Kuhn, and you're aware of him. You actually liked him, right?
I don't know that I liked him, but yes.
You agreed with him, right? You agreed with his his position about science kind of being kind of culty a little bit.
I don't think. I agreed with the paradigm that he proposed, the paradigm shift, and you were the one that actually called science a religion. Always.
I called aspects of science religion.
I mean, I have the tape, but that's okay. Maybe you misspoke.
Phases, right? So hold on, wait. It goes through phases. So you have crisis science, right, in which people are constantly looking for a new paradigm, and then you have normal science, in which people are constantly trying to regulate what the paradigm is, right? So when you're in normal science, you've basically created a religion. You've created scientism, right? But once you get into an area where people don't know what they like basic facts because they're being contradicted, right, through just continuous studies, then you have to come up with a new paradigm. And anyway, that's kind of besides the point. One of the points I wanted to mention that he makes in his book is the psychological distinction between discovery and justification is in compare. We can't distinguish one from the other, right? We retroactively justify the things that we want to believe because it agreeing with us, right? Mm-hmm. And if you look at the data, right, the way science progresses, right, you'll have people that are constantly justifying these status quo, normal science beliefs, despite the fact that in 10, 20 years, they're completely invalidated, right? They think that they're discovering, they think that they're doing science, but really they're just justifying the things that they already believe. So I'm asking you, how do you know?
I've already answered your
believe,
question.
right?
So I'll repeat it for you again. I will look at, first off, I've already answered it. So first off, I'll do it again though. I observe what is being proposed to me that I should believe. Or if I believe something, let me see if I can observe it in reality. Can I observe it in reality? Cool. Do other people observe it in reality? Cool. Is it a similar pattern? Cool. Now, let's go to people who are alleged experts on this that are actually doing the science if I care to go deeper. Okay? If I care to go deeper. So now let's see. I found somebody who agrees with me. I found somebody who contradicts me. All right, the person agrees with me. Do they agree with me? Do I agree with them on everything? I agree with them on most things, but why don't I agree with them on the other things? Cool. Now, the person that contradicts me, why are they contradicting me? What do I have something wrong? Is my worldview wrong? What are they bringing to the table to suggest that I'm wrong? Okay. And then from there, ultimately, it's up to the individual using their own brain power to come up to their own conclusion.
Okay, but what I just said is that using your own brain power, right, according to Kuhn,
I don't care about Kuhn. I'm talking about real life. I'm talking about being a man as the leader of a household. As the leader of a household, as the leader of my household, I am not going to just default the judgment of all things to experts. I'm going to resort back to me because all I can be is me. All I can be is me. All I can be is me. I can use the experts for help. I don't think you're understanding me, or I think that you're just wanting to be argumentative, because I'm telling you, I can look at the experts that agree with me. I can look at the experts that disagree with me. Why am I disagreeing with them? What do I have wrong? What do these experts that agree with me have right and wrong? Okay, boom. These are the facts on the table. These are the facts on the table. And then at the end of the day, who's going to be the one to determine that they're going to believe it? It's going to be you, the human, the individual, the man. The whole point of this is saying that, hey, I have enough cojones to stand in a position, whether I'm right or wrong. I'm going to stand in a position, not saying it's good to be wrong about things, but we're all wrong about a lot of things. Okay. My whole point is this. You have to use your own brain at the end of the day. You can't default judgment to everybody else. You can't go around living your entire life like that. If you live your entire life defaulting judgment, then guess what?
Right? Like to some degree, you're always informed through other people. Like there's no way getting around the fact that you need other people.
Yes, we've already went over that. We're going in circles now. So is there anything else that you want to talk about?
How so, dude? I mean, I feel like I'm sort of talking to a wall, dude, because like you keep saying I'll just be objective, and I'm telling you,
I'm not. You're just not listening. I have the audio. I literally have the audio. You're just not listening. It's all good. I've literally stated several times. So, unless you have something else that you want to talk about.
I mean, I don't know, dude. Let's see what else you got there. You guys are being sued for censorship, Republican civil wars. I don't know. This is. Why does Hungary get it? Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, they're realizing the West is dying and separating themselves from the West and becoming increasingly Christian.
Are you a Christian national? Oh, yeah, you are a Christian national. I forgot about that.
Yep.
Shoot, yeah. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, well, what type of Christian?
I lean towards Orthodox Christianity.
Orthodox, like, so Russian Christianity?
Well, it's just Orthodox Christianity, but yeah, the Orthodox Christians are big in Russia.
Like, what's the distinction between them and other religions and other Christianities?
I mean, that's a long conversation, but between them and the Catholics, they obviously don't have a pope. They have a different view on the Trinity. They have a different view on Mary. Between them and the Protestants, the list goes on and on and on of differences. And it varies between Protestant denominations because there's like 30 different Protestant denominations. So it would be very long to.
You were a capitalist, right?
I'm sorry?
You were a capitalist too, right? You were you were in favor of capitalism? I'm trying to remember.
I mean, I think that the system we have right now is okay. But ultimately, my point was in that conversation. I mean, I would prefer capitalism, yeah, if I had to choose, based on my knowledge of history,
like,
based on my not based on my
education?
living experience. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So for public education, you think like capitalism is like the solution to education?
No, I think
would that be like accurate?
No, I think that children should be homeschooled. It's the parent's responsibility. I think it's wrong for a parent to delegate their responsibility to a soulless institution, whether it's under a communist or a capitalist regime.
Yeah. What if like your parents don't know how to read though?
No, that's okay. You don't need
never learn how to read.
Yeah, you can learn how to read. You can find other people that know how to read, but you don't need to know how to read to live.
If you're relying on your parents to teach you everything, and your parents don't know how to read, then like, aren't you like trusting other people? Like,
not necessarily.
It seems like that kind of contradicts your point.
Not necessarily.
You are trusting other people though.
Well, here's the thing, because
you're not doing it yourself.
Well, first off, you keep mischaracterizing my points, and it's getting kind of irritated because we've already stated that you need to have trust in the community. We agree with that. You already know my position in community, so please stop mischaracterizing it. I've already said that we're not going to have a conversation about trust on the society in this level. On society in this level, there's a huge distrust in America. That's a big problem. It'll take too long and too boring of a conversation to have at the moment. So, obviously, you need to have trust in your community. That is a very important thing. Nobody disagrees with that. If somebody in your community knows how to read, guess what? Your parents can say, hey, if I can't read and I want my little Billy to learn.
How big is the community?
I don't know. It depends. I mean, I'm talking about.
Like, what would you consider? Like, where's the line where a community becomes not a community and just like a mass of people to you?
Well, I mean, I don't know how to enumerate that, but I think that cities aren't really communities. They have communities within themselves that are isolated. I mean, if you look back at like 1920s America, the Germans had their own neighborhoods that they would consider their own little communities. The Italians had their own neighborhoods that they would consider their Italian communities. The Chinese, when they were here, they have Chinatown. That's their community. So, I mean, it really can be broken down into fractals, right? So a city, you can consider a huge community, but are you going to associate everybody with your community? No. So you're probably going to pick who's in your community that you want to be around with and make your community if you're in a city environment. Now, if you're in a village type environment, totally different. Totally different.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, public schooling, I think, is garbage. Private education, maybe a little bit better. Charter schools, maybe a little bit better. But ultimately, the child is the parent's responsibility. And so the child should be raised and taught by the parents. If the parents can't read, I guarantee you the dad does something else that's far more important than reading. Whether it be fixing your damn car, whether it be fixing your house, whether it even be building you something beautiful, or just saying, hey, we make weapons. We know how to make knives, swords, etc. You can learn a whole lot from that. Reading is a man-made construct. You don't need to know how to read to be successful in this world. There are many people who have survived without reading.
Surviving isn't the same thing as being successful.
You can be successful without reading. There are many people who consider themselves successful and are illiterate, that can barely read.
Like, only person I can think of is maybe Floyd Mayweather, but like,
and a bunch of other artists as well. There's a bunch of people out there that make so I know somebody who was a truck driver, made good money. I know somebody who was a truck driver who made good money and could barely read, didn't even graduate the 8th grade. Made good money, more money than most people make in 1 year.
And he was a truck driver?
Yes, truck drivers make great money.
Yeah, I actually used to work as a shipping broker. A lot of those costs, like, they might make $100,000 a year or like 6 figures, but like including like mechanical costs, insurance.
We don't have to go down that whole rabbit hole. My whole point is that this is the point. Why are we going down that? That's nonsense. Who cares?
They might make a lot of money, but a lot of that money goes to like keeping their business alive. Like, so like they might
that's if they're an owner operator. I'm not going to get into a whole conversation on this. That's if they're an owner operator. That's if they're an owner operator.
Yeah,
There are truck drivers who are not
money.
owner operators. Anyway, my whole point
They don't
is
make as much money.
my whole point is that some do. So you can't say that they don't make that much money. Some are exceptional, just like there's exceptional people in every
Like how
field.
many?
It doesn't matter. That's very stupid to get on these points. So the whole point is
I mean, if
you
you're
don't
saying-
need
if
to
you're saying that these
read.
people are
You don't need to
successful-
read to be successful. I personally love reading. I personally love reading. I read a book about every 2 weeks. I read every day, actually, preparing for this, going through these news
Do you think it
topics,
helps to be
going through
successful?
these. I'm
Do you think it
sorry.
helps? Do you think it helps to be successful? if
It
you read?
depends on what society you live in, because success is
Society,
also
what's-
success.
look,
Success
in
is
society,
also
do
a
you think
social
it's helpful
construct,
to read to succeed?
dude. Success is
Society, do you
also,
think it's helpful
dude.
to read to succeed?
All right. We got other people that want to come in. Success is a social construct. What's going on?
I would like to say at the beginning of the conversation on an ethical system called utilitarianism. Right, and basically, what this ethical system does is says any action that leads to like more human suffering across the world is bad, and one that leads to more human happiness is good. That's basically how it works, right? So that's the perspective that I'm coming from when I like to address all these issues.
Okay.
All right. So when we're talking about like how do we find what the truth is, a lot of people defer to scientists, empirics. A lot of people defer to their own personal opinion of what they've experienced. This can be just as simple as what ice cream is the best. It can also be as dangerous as what race is the best. And, you know, you can't really invalidate anybody's personal experience. I mean, your personal experience is your own personal experience. But when you try to apply that to the entire world or a community or to anybody that's not you, you can't really make claims about that because you're not them and you don't have a full scope of the entire world. That's why we defer to empirics. So, if someone were to say that in my experience, every single black person, let me just use like not race, but every single blue person that I've met is the scum of the earth. Okay. Then like that may be true for them, but they cannot then say every single black person or every single blue person is the scum of the earth. They can't say that because they're only dealing with their own personal experience. We'd have to look at empirics to find that out.
Okay.
And it would actually be harmful. People wouldn't just say, well, it's just their opinion. Why don't you just get a community of people where this isn't the case? The problem is people get platforms, they spread their ideas to other people, and when people like racists spread their ideas to other people, very bad things can happen. So when Andrew Tate gets up and say, in my personal experience, I think that women can't drive, even though the empirics say otherwise, this can have very harmful effects, especially because he has a large platform. Spreading misogyny on a large platform will reach other people. Those views will spread. And when misogyny spreads to a lot of people, that in itself can affect who people vote for, and that can badly impact women.
If I may, I think also something that you actively choose to ignore is the concept of general consensus. Solely because you made a statement about, just because a whole group of people believe something doesn't mean that I should have to believe it too. Okay, cool, great, fine. But when that comes to the conversation of like science and data, the majority of that is based off of general consensus, right? Right? And I feel like that to ignore that is definitely dangerous. Also, when it comes to someone as like problematic as Andrew Tate, that man literally has a long history of being misogynistic, like flat out on just about every platform. And the fact that his entire business is extremely reminiscent of a pyramid scheme, but he spews hate, right? He spews misogyny, and in turn, people take his statements, weaponize that, and then use it to justify the BS that they spew, the violence that they perpetuate. And at the core of the problem is him. Well, actually, at the core of the problem is misogyny, but it's misogyny through him. Does that make sense? I feel like I said a lot of things.
Yeah, you guys all
And I guess
basically repeated each other. That's cool.
Not all quote unquote experts should be treated as equally valid. When people do studies, the scientific community will like peer review the study or not. The study may not be peer reviewed, or they'll like make counter studies to that study, or they'll like critique its methodology. So it's not, you can't just take any study that you see and say this is fact. You have to see if it's gone through the rigorous testing of other scientists.
Right.
So when people say that, you can find any study that proves your beliefs, maybe, but there's going to be a vast amount of studies that prove one point over the other, and
so you guys seem to be fairly
some
intelligent.
studies are going to be more valid.
So you guys seem to be fairly intelligent. So now you can just exactly use the same argument that you're making for Andrew Tate for scientists as well.
Okay, but we're talking about, that argument would mean that we are saying that you shouldn't agree with one person. When we're talking about scientists, I don't just listen to one scientist's paper, right? Their paper needs to be peer-reviewed by multiple scientists, making a general consensus that this is correct.
And they could be wrong, though. But anyway, so are we just going to talk about how Andrew Tate was wrong in his opinion of women being bad? And he didn't even say women were bad drivers. I mean, he's admitted numerous times that there are good women drivers. He just thinks that he would prefer to have a male driver. That's his actual statements, more clarified for the people who are, for whatever reason, have a hard time understanding him, whether it be, as I stated before, they don't have the intellectual capability of grasping the concept, or they get triggered by certain things he says that then begins to blind them to certain things. So he has stated that, there could be good women drivers. There's women NASCAR drivers. There's, as I've stated in my own personal streams, sorry, you lost me.
Right?
So,
and I'm not speaking.
So hang on, dude.
I'll reiterate this.
Hang on. I don't want you to reiterate.
Okay.
My whole point is, my whole question is, are we just going to sit here and talk about the fact that there's a man on the internet who is becoming extremely famous? He's talking a lot of things that a lot of men agree with, and then he's talking a lot of things that a lot of people disagree with. And so now we're just going to sit here and say you have to listen to scientists because there's some good men and bad men out in the world, and you can't just believe everything a good man or a bad man says. You have to default to daddy science.
Okay.
Yes, because it causes harm to the world, and we explain that before.
Scientists can cause harm to the world as well. I mean, you ever heard of the Nazis?
My big thing is like you're hinging this entire conversation on the whole Andrew Tate talking about women driving thing. That wasn't even like.
No, we can talk about anything. I just have Andrew Tate on there. I mean, if you look at the topics, it's just Andrew Tate. Whatever you want to talk about.
We can stay on the topic of Andrew Tate, but like I said, the argument that I was going to make as to Andrew Tate being misogynistic had nothing to do with his comment on women driving, because me personally, I just think that's ridiculous. A couple of things that I would have used as my argument as to why Andrew Tate is actively problematic is him actively tweeting that sexual harassment is disgusting and inexcusable. However, a man looking at you or whistling at you or asking your name isn't harassment, right? He's also tweeted a multiple host of things, and if you follow that conversation, he essentially alludes to saying women put themselves in a position to be assaulted, right? I believe the statement was women have been exchanging sex for opportunity for a very long time. Some did this, weren't abused. If you put yourself in a position to be R-worded, you bear some responsibility.
Okay.
That's misogynistic. That's problematic. And that kind of behavior, right, teaches young men, right, to believe to view women more as objects than as people. And then on top of that, right, it allows them room to justify women being assaulted. Do you understand that?
Okay.
Do you understand why that's a problem, is what I'm asking.
I'm just going to say okay.
That doesn't really answer my question.
Okay.
So are you just not going to engage in a conversation?
Well, I mean, this is just kind of getting like, we're just going to sit here and bring up a bunch of things that I didn't think that we would, have to get into. But I mean, and it's also, I know. I debated putting it on there. I agree with pretty much everything he says. I just didn't. The more I thought about it, though, I'm like, do I really want to get on here and talk about another man? And I figured it'd be okay. But yeah. So I do agree with what he said. Yeah.
So you agree with what I just read?
Yeah.
Can you explain that thought process to me, please?
Yeah, it's very simple. First off, a woman who's in that position doesn't have a strong man in her life. If she had a strong man in her life, whether it be a father or a husband, she would never have to. First off, if it was a strong father, she wouldn't be seeking approval and trying to work her way up to the top by exchanging her goods for that, which is one of the things that you stated. The other thing is she would not have to be in an environment where she's searching for a bunch of men, whether she realizes it or not, in a club, in a bar, at a university. If she had to
go to university clubs or bars?
I don't think so. No, I don't think it's a place for women.
University isn't a place for women?
As they are today? No, I don't think so. As they are today? No. Do I think that women shouldn't be able to learn? I think that women should be able to learn, especially if they're extremely intelligent, because they can do wonderful things. But as it is today, I would not let my daughters go to university. I have 3 of them.
What?
But getting back to the whole point here, women do put themselves in precarious positions. They are in a environment, especially at clubs and bars, where you have drunken men that have a lot of testosterone. They are looking for something to conquer, and that something to conquer is going to be a woman most of the time. And so it could end up in a bad way. Not saying that the men don't bear any responsibility. I'm not for men committing those acts.
You're alluding to.
No, I'm not. So stop it. This is what I'm saying. You're getting triggered by my words and you keep interrupting me. I let you speak, but this is what I mean. People get triggered when you start saying things that contradict them and they just brain shuts off. Anyway, so the men who are there, they obviously should not be sexually assaulting women. And by sexually assaulting, I mean inappropriately grabbing them if the woman doesn't want it. As far as asking for a woman's name, that's not sexual harassment. No families would ever be started if you don't ask for a woman's name. No families would ever be started if you just don't go up to a girl and start talking to her. That's insane to think that. Anyway, so as far as like the men committing the R word, obviously a horrible thing. I never condone that. That's a disgusting thing. I have 3 daughters. Remember, guys, I have 3 daughters and a wife, okay? So obviously that's a really bad thing. However, the woman is in a very, very, very vulnerable position. She puts herself in a very vulnerable position around a bunch of drunken men that could act out of conduct and not giving them any leeway, right? It's a two-way street. But to say that the woman is not at fault at all for the actions of that night is not true, because it's a two-way street. If she had never gone out that night, if she were maybe raised better, if she had maybe a better father, if she had already a good husband, she would never be out in those environments to begin with. So it is a two-way street.
Should I provide you with an alternate example? Basically, a very similar situation. If we go back to like 1930s, there were Black people who would go into places where their presence would not be appreciated, and they would be attacked by a bunch of angry white people. If they had not chosen to walk into that establishment, they would have not been, assaulted. For sure, it was their choice to go into there. They increased their danger by going in that place. Sure, but when we talk about these issues, like, racism, we don't even focus on the conversation of why was the black person there in the first place. What we do is we focus on the people that are attacking them for being in that place, because that's the bigger problem, because black people should be able to go wherever they want. I would say the same thing for women. Women should be able to go wherever they want. And the main conversation shouldn't be shifted to why are women going into places that would increase their danger. The conversation should be focused on how do we make these places safer for women.
Yeah,
And
easy.
if
They
I
go to a
may,
gay
based
bar.
on the argument that you just made, sir, right? If you were to ask me, how do we make these spaces safer for women, right? By the argument that you just placed, right? The problem here is men, right? Men, for some reason, aren't incapable of controlling themselves by your argument. So let's remove.
No, that isn't my argument.
No more
That
men
isn't
in
my
bars,
argument.
right? No more men in universities. Let's remove them.
Well, that isn't my argument. That's a
How
total
about
mischaracterization of the argument. My argument was that women, I do blame men to a large extent, because men have become increasingly weak today, and they don't want to lead women as they should, because women want to be led. You guys don't understand this. I don't know how. Maybe because you guys don't have wives. Maybe you guys are simps in your relationship. I don't know. But every relationship I've ever had, I have a wife. Yes, and this is actually the longest monogamous relationship I've ever had in my life is with my wife. I usually have always had more than 2 girls at the same time, right hand to God. And so it doesn't matter. Every time I've had a woman, the woman defaulted to my judgment, not by me forcing her, not by any of that. It's simple. They default to your judgment. When you ask a woman, where do you want to go eat? Where do you want to go eat? They say, I don't know, but I'm hungry. What are you in the mood for? I don't know, but I'm hungry. Right? And so then who has to decide? You have to decide. Hey, what do you want to go over here today? I don't know, but I really want to go do something. What do you want to do today? I was thinking about a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but I'm not sure.
We get the example. But I guess it depends on the women that you choose to look for. There are plenty of women who don't want anything like that. But how do we determine who's correct? We search for empirics and see how people in society, or women in the society, feel about gender roles. And from what we've seen, women are very happy with the progression of gender roles so far, and they don't want to go backwards. Most people in the United States don't want to go backwards in terms of gender roles.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would just say this. Why is mental health increasing? Why are women more depressed and anxious than they were in the 1800s?
Well, everybody's more depressed.
Fact. No, not everybody. Incorrect. This is a Western phenomenon. This is a Western phenomenon.
Sorry, when I was saying everybody, I was referring to the West, because in this conversation, we haven't referred to anything but the West.
Well, we're talking about women. We're talking about women and men, right?
Okay. Can you please tell me where
I'm
the
talking
source?
I'm talking about.
You just look it up. I'm not here to provide you sources. You look it up. You have the internet. You can check it out yourself.
In the United States, depression has increased. A lot of these things are due to economic problems, because bad economics can cause a lot of stress in people's lives. So across the board, everybody's gotten more depressed. But also, we don't have an accurate way of measuring how many people were depressed in the 1800s, because we didn't know as much about psychology. Once we started to create new disorders, a bunch of other people were diagnosed with those disorders, like autism, for example. It's not that more people got autism. It's that we just we knew how to recognize it better. So I would actually say there might have been way more people with depression in the 1800s. We don't know, though, because
we do, because they didn't sit around and cry. They sat around and built. In America today, we sit around and we're like, men, please come together and talk about your emotions and how you feel on the inside, because it's really strong to be vulnerable. It's strong to be weak. Do you not see the inversion? It's strong to be weak. 1984.
I also have plenty of studies that show that men who don't share their feelings are way more likely to commit suicide than men who do share their feelings.
That's a fact.
Okay, I could find, once again, I could also find, guys, I could find studies that show the other way. And I can tell you from my personal life, the men, I can tell you, I'm not looking this up. No. That's going to be a very boring conversation.
even
So,
if you did pull
I'm telling
those
you
sources,
that-
right? Can you understand, sir? Even if you pulled those sources, could you understand, right, that your source more than likely would be singular, whereas our sources are backed on not only
We'd have a
data,
peer
but
review,
a general-
100 scientists
a
in the
general
community confirming what I
consensus of
say.
Science, right? The general consensus of psychology, right, will say flat out that discussing how you feel, right, will more than likely make you less depressed.
No, I don't agree. I think that overall psychology and psychiatry were a weapon used by the satanic state to get rid of confession booths.
Do you think all opinions are equally as valid?
No,
Why?
because if somebody said my opinion is the sky's red, obviously their opinion is very invalid
What makes their opinion invalid?
because it's obviously not true, and so they're just dumb.
According to you,
You're not
according
colorblind.
to your personal experience.
This is a very silly thing. Yes, not all opinions are equal, and not all opinions are valid. I
Right.
would reject some
No, but
opinions.
From
I'm
their
asking you
point
how
of
you
view, this
determine-
guy could
I'm
be
asking you how you determine which opinions are valid, because because we're not going by empirics. Scientists can say a lot of things according to you. If I say the sky is red, what makes my opinion any less valuable than yours if you say it's blue?
Because it's just not true. So it's not even a matter of
You don't have a way to-
opinion.
You don't have a way to answer this question.
It's just not even a matter. Yes, there are some opinions that are invalid. Can I give you examples right now? No, I'm not. I've been going for 2 hours right now. So my mind is not at
Can you
its
give me an example
absolute
of
peak.
any opinion that's invalid?
You start giving me opinions and ask me if they're invalid.
Most black people are inherently prone to violence.
No, I don't think so. I think that would be an invalid opinion.
Why?
Yeah, so the reason I would say that that's an invalid opinion would have a lot to do with the fact that history shows that if you're going to say, for instance, many of white people, the Vikings, the Caucasians, you could say that they were prone to violence. So obviously you could make an argument for any race being prone to violence based on their heritage. But to say black people altogether are inherently prone to violence, well, then you would have to say, well, what black people, because there's not just one, there's Dominican Republics. I'm Puerto Rican. There's a lot of black Puerto Ricans.
All of them.
There's a lot of, that doesn't make any sense because then you'd have to look at the cultures. You'd have to see, well, which ones are actually doing it? Like which ones are doing the violence? Which ones have more violence?
In my experience with these people and from the historical context that I've viewed and the historians that I've looked at, it says that black people are inherently prone to violence.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Because my thing is, do you understand how in this instance, what you're using to argue, right, is the fact that, history shows that's data. You're drawing.
Yeah,
from the
I
source.
understand. I understand all of this, guys.
Okay,
I'm
but
not
do
a
you understand
retard. I
that
understand
source is
very
only
well what
ratified
you're saying.
because we all
My whole
generally
point
agree.
is this. At the end of the day, you're going to use your own judgment to determine whether or not you want to accept something or not. And at the end of the day, you're going to see multiple studies, some that are peer-reviewed that contradict your belief, some that are peer-reviewed that confirm your belief. You're going to have to use your own brain. You're going to have to use your own brain to determine which one you are going to accept.
But I've yet to see
That's
every
Everybody
study that
does.
contradicts my belief.
I'm not
Everybody
providing
uses their own
studies
brain
here.
to determine
This isn't what
they
this
think
stream's
is
about.
true. Some people do it to different extents. Like, my problem is you don't have a consistent way of coming to truth. If a Nazi confronted you about your beliefs, there'd be no way of you telling them that they're wrong. You don't have a way to do that.
True.
Yeah, okay. Okay. All right. So
Okay.
We are going to let some other people in.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, sir. So, I was on here for like a couple minutes before you let your guest go.
Mhm.
But you sound like a literal fascist. Like, it's wow.
Okay, I'm done with that. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? So, I suppose, are you wanting to talk about the topics that you have as far as Republican Party civil war, U.S. government being sued for censorship, and what about Hungary gets it?
We can talk about any of those things.
Okay. So my question is, what about Hungary gets it?
Yeah, so I've stated this numerous times. At the beginning of the
Well, I have
stream,
not been in here,
this
so
has been
just
going
state it.
on for 2 hours. So I apologize, everybody that's going to listen to this again. They are witnessing the West decline. They're witnessing the East rise. They're witnessing the Muslim countries rise. And so they are cutting themselves off from, they're trying to separate themselves from Western Europe and the Western world and solidify a Christian nation.
Oh, and why? I mean, have we seen Christian nations and theocracies before?
Yes.
Like, we have?
Yes.
Have we ever seen it be successful?
Yes.
Give me a time period and a country that was successful in providing to the rights of all of the humans which survive within its borders.
Well, that's a very vague statement. What do you mean by all the rights?
Well, providing liberties and rights to life in all of its borders. Can you give me a
What does that mean?
theocracy which has done that?
You're being very
right
vague.
To life? You don't know? So right to life is vague to you. Not impeding on somebody's life is vague to you?
Okay, cool. So now we understand what we're talking about. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
So because people go many
Okay.
different directions with those kinds of questions. Yeah, I think
Okay.
the Roman Empire is a good example.
Roman Empire, do you have any historical context to what the Roman Empire had done? Like going around murdering people?
Yeah, we
I
can
would
say
not
that
consider
about.
that.
Yeah, but that's an invalid argument because you can say that about every nation, whether they're Christian, non-Christian, religious, non-religious, every nation in the world, every empire in the world.
Well, I'm not so sure you can say that about non-religious.
You can.
countries.
The communist country, China, non-religious. Soviet Union, non-religious.
First of all, the Soviet Union, if you're talking about the Black Book was...
I'm not talking about the Black Book.
Okay, give me direct examples.
When Lenin came to power, he sent off all the academics that were in support of him, most of them anyway, because they started questioning him doing academic things, intellectual things, and got rid of them. What else? They debated whether or not they should go through a capitalist phase or they should go through or they should skip the capitalist phase and just go right to socialism. Everybody who was in agreement with going through capitalism was offed pretty much. And then you have Stalin, right? The forceful industrial revolution that happened in the Soviet Union brought them to be this great power that they are today. And I do mean great in the true sense of the word. It doesn't mean that I'm a big fan of Russia, but they do have a great manufacturing power. And that has a lot to do because of Stalin forcing the industrial revolution. And along the way, a lot of people suffered for that. And they were very antagonistic against the Orthodox Church. They tried to end it several times.
Do you know why they were antagonistic against the Orthodox Church? Because the Orthodox Church...
It doesn't matter
the
because the point
values as
here, it
Nazis.
doesn't matter because the point that we're
If
making
you hold
here,
the same
it
values
doesn't
as
matter.
Nazis, you're
So
a
please
fascist,
stop it.
you're
So
a
it doesn't
misogynist,
matter.
Like Andrew Tate, like every single thing you have here, kick me, faggot.
All right. Last one. Hey, how's it going?
What's up? Real quick, I just want to say one thing. I'm gonna just give you a general statement, and you let me know whether you agree with it or not. In America, black people are 2 to 3 times more likely to be unalive next to white people.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Black people are 2 to 3 times more likely to be unalive by police officers versus white people. Meaning that if
I know what it means. I know what it means. I know what it means. I don't know. I don't know, because I know that the statistics can be skewed, right? Because there's more white people in America. So one can make the argument that statistically more white people are unalived, but would that really be fair? Because there's less black people. So then you'd have to look at, are more black people, based on the percentage of their demographic, are they being offed at the same rate as white people are getting off based on their population demographic? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
So there's a difference between more like being more of and more likely. So yes, because there are more white people in this country, more of them are going to die. What I'm saying,
I know that's what I just said, and you're not listening to me. So please, you guys, if you're going to come on here and have a conversation, please listen. So I will repeat it again. There are so many white people in America, right? There are way more white people in America. Listen to me, everybody. There are more white people in America. Therefore, by default, there will be more of them to get unalived. All right. However, then we'll have to look at, are there on a demographic? So I guess he's been suspended. I'm not triggered. I'm just basically stating that, are there more, the demographics of black people, what's the percentage of African Americans in America that are being unalived by police? Okay. And then what are the percentage in their demographics, their respective demographics, being unalived for the Caucasians? So what we need to figure out is, by their demographics, what percentage within their own demographics are being unalived more. To compare them is unfair, because then you're always going to be able to get somebody to debate. It is, because you're always going to be able to get somebody to debate, well, there's more white people, therefore more white people are going to get offed. So then you have to look at the demographics. You have to look at the demographics to then say, are more black people being, like, how many black people are being offed every year? Okay, cool. And then how big is the population of black people? Cool. Then you get the percentage of the black people getting offed. And then you check out the percentage of white people being off. And then you see the percent, and then you check out the population of the whites in general. And then you do the math. What's the percentage? Who has the bigger percentage? That's how you would find an honest answer to that.
I think you're still not getting it. So, like I said, I completely understand that more white people are being killed due to the fact that there are more of them. What I'm saying is, right, I'm gonna give you a scenario real quick. If me and a white person was walking down the street, right, and also you can look this up. This is on the FBI website when it comes to crimes committed in this country and the unaliving of black and white people. I believe I think it's table 3 or section. I have to look it up again. But anyways, right, when it comes down to it, if I was walking down the street late at night, if I was walking down the street late at night with a black hoodie on versus a white person wearing a black hoodie, right, and there's a police officer circling the area, right, I want you to understand that I am more likely to be stopped and possibly unalived versus the white person who's across the other street who may be committing a crime, who may be stealing something from out of the store, who may be, thank you, Patrick, it's the FBI website, UCR, the Uniform Crime Report, Table 34. I'm more likely to be unalived and locked up, right? So at the end of the day, right, that's not something that is debatable, or it's not something that you can overlook. As black people, we are looked at as violent, right? Which was why the statement was made earlier with the other two guests, right? What people have to understand is that as black people in America, we are targeted every single day. That is not up for a debate or argument or anything like that, right? We have to consider. Oh, thanks, Pat. So it's table 43. My bad, y'all. We have to consistently change with the times, and we have to maneuver through life a certain kind of way. So, like I said, which is why I made the statement. I asked you the question to begin with. Is a general It's a general statement right then and there within itself, because as you can see with it, Black people are consistently targeted. So because we are consistently targeted, we give statistics like we're 6 to 7 times more likely to be pulled over during a traffic stop. That is factuals. If you look at the situation with Philando Castile, he was pulled over and he was murdered in front of his girlfriend and his daughter. So we see multiple situations. The situation with George Floyd, where he was accused of giving in a fake $20 bill, and that $20 bill happening to be an actual real $20 bill. So a lot of times, not only are Black people lied on when it comes to situations that we're put in, but also at the same time, Black people have to consistently deal with the disrespect from those who are not Black, who are in power, who are in law enforcement, who are senators, who are conservative, whatever the case may be. And we also deal with it from Democrats. The only difference between Democrats and Republicans is that one is covertly racist and the other is overtly racist. So at the end of the day, I don't understand. Like, that's not up for a debate at all. That's just a fact, like, of life. Like we have to deal with this every day. Every single day we have to deal with this. So I mean, I don't know. I was sitting in your comment section, and I was listening, and I disagree in that. And then you was also speaking about women, and I'm just gonna have to say, like, women, you know, it's deeper than them being just emotional, as people wanna so claim. Like, Roe v. Wade was just overturned. If you're not familiar with what Roe v. Wade is in a Supreme Court justice decision, but literally right now, women's rights are under attack. To which there was just a 10-year-old who got pregnant in Ohio, and in a completely different state, and she had to cross state lines to go get an abortion. I don't know if are you familiar with what just happened recently with a 10-year-old? Do you know?
Yes.
Are you familiarized with what happened? About?
Yes. I don't know what this has to do with anything of the topics on here, by the way. Everything you said is totally irrelevant to every topic that we have on here. I was just addressing what you were saying earlier. Yeah, well, what about the topics? So anything that you want to touch on for the topics?
Oh, well, I don't. Well, you have U.S. government being sued for censorship. Can you inform me on who Andrew Tate is? I'm not too familiar. Who's that?
He's a man that is becoming famous on the internet.
Can you give me more context on who he is? That could be anybody.
Yeah, he's becoming extremely controversial. And everybody in the chat, just so you know, after getting so much hostility for 2 hours, and my views get very little support, which I'm totally fine with. I do this show every day. Of course, I'm going to be coming a little more short as the show goes on, especially when we're addressing irrelevant points. So anyway, he's a world kickboxer, 4-time world champion, and millionaire, multi-millionaire, has controversial views on social media, and is becoming a famous individual now.
Okay. So from what I'm seeing in the comments, people are saying that he is misogynistic.
Okay.
So for me, again, which is why I brought up Roe v. Wade, I'm not surprised on how some men feel, why some men feel like they are more powerful, or they have some kind of dominance over women, when women have literally led civilizations, nations. There are women that are president. I don't like to bring her up, but Queen Elizabeth. I mean,
once again, though, what does this have to do with the topics, though? So they said that he's misogynistic, and you're just agreeing with them, but you don't even know why they claim he's misogynistic, right? Because you don't even know who he is.
But wouldn't misogyny be something that's negative, and that's something that needs to be addressed and talked about?
But don't you think people can lie?
Say that again?
Don't you think people can lie?
Lie about what?
Anything. In general, people can lie, right?
In some
yes.
cases,
So if people can lie, no, it's yes. The answer is yes. Everybody has the ability to lie. So if everybody has the ability to lie, and then somebody comes on here saying something, and you're just going to start going off of that topic because you want to rant about whatever that's on your mind, and that's totally cool, bro. That's totally cool that you want to do that. I respect it. I do that every day on here. I rant with what's on my mind, with what I'm reading, but we have specific talking points. So are you curious to know why people think he's misogynistic? Do you even know why he's misogynistic if he
I
is?
asked you if you could go in deeper depth about who
I
he is
did.
and
I
why
gave
he
you
could come from.
I did. I gave you the
You was
groundwork.
kind of vague with it. It was kind of vague. It was a little bit broad, but you could go ahead and explain to me why people think that he is misogynistic. It's your platform. I'm not.
No, nobody asked me. Nobody asked me if they. I'm addressing some comments. Nobody asked me if he didn't ask me if I think Andrew Tate's a misogynist. He asked me who Andrew Tate is, and so I'm not going to be like Andrew Tate is a misogynistic, womanizing POS. I'm going to tell you objectively who he is. He is a 4-time world kickboxing champion. He is a multimillionaire. He lives in Morania. He's becoming very popular for his controversial views. And those controversial views have a lot to do with gender roles. And the reason people deem him misogynistic is because he specifically illustrates the gender roles. That's all.
Do you believe that we still have gender roles in 2022?
Of course.
Why do you believe that?
Because it's human nature.
So
I believe that men have strengths, women have strengths. I believe that men should play to their strengths, women should play to their weaknesses. Men and women complement each other. I mean, the women should play to their strengths, men play to their strengths. Men complement the women's weaknesses. Woman complements the man weaknesses. They're a complementary role. They are not the same. They are not equal.
So why I asked you that is, again, there are, for instance, right? Typically, let's take it back a couple of decades, right? Typically, it was the woman who stood home and took care of the kids. You would agree, yes, and cook and clean, all that, right? You do know that there are men now who stay at home, cook and clean, take care of the kids, right? There are stay-at-home dads, while there are women who are working, who are earning, who are the breadwinners of the family, right? And then I'll give, like, for instance, right? I don't know if you know who she is. You probably don't. But the CEO of Study Vegan, Pinky Cole, her and her husband, they both run their own entrepreneurial businesses, right? I just gave you one of her businesses, which is a Study Vegan that's located in Atlanta, Georgia, with a multitude of locations, right? So in that instance, both of them are CEOs in the family. Not one is a CEO. Not just one of them are CEO. They're both CEOs. They're both chief executive officers to their own companies and their own brands as entrepreneurs. So when you say that men and women are not equal, what are you entailing? Are you saying in terms of strength? Are you saying biologically? Are you saying societally? Because societally, if we want to talk about it, women are better leaders than men. Because I hear a lot of times that men will say things like, well, men are more logical. Women are more emotional. But why is it that I'm seeing women who work with both logic and emotion, and I only see men working logically, meaning that a lot of you are not emotionally tapped in with how you're feeling. And this is just, again, this is something that's been proven, that women have been better leaders than men. A lot of times you see men lead, it leads to war, it leads to hardship, it leads to people having, this country, for instance, for over 300 years almost now, no, close to 300 years, there have been a man who's been president. Do you think that this country has improved since remove all of the men that have served as president? You think this country has improved? It really hasn't. If you really look at it,
I agree with you. We agree on something.
They have had. So you agree that it has not progressed in the right. It hasn't progressed in the right direction, right? If you look at history and time, especially with racism, a lot of white men who were in power, regardless from George Washington to George H.W. Bush to Richard Nixon to our current president Joe Biden, all of them have had some way, shape, or form an attachment to racism and to how the certain power structures in this country are still active to this day. Whereas we look at other countries that are ran by women, they are more productive than what America is today. So, like I said, going back to the conversation as to why people believe that Andrew Tate is misogynistic, and I'm gonna do my own research on this myself when I hop off this live. I feel as though when you say things like men and women are not equal,
They're not.
you are not looking deep into how women are and have been leaders in years and decades past.
So
Men
you're just
have also
isolating
been
one
leaders.
thing and ignoring everything I said. Totally cool. Men have their strengths. Women have their strengths. They complement each other in their proper roles. I can't give birth. My wife is about to give birth for the second time, but for 3 kids, 3 kids. That's, 2 years, 3 kids. I'm crushing it. We're crushing it. Anyway, I can't do that. I don't want to. I couldn't do her job, which is to primarily stay home and raise the kids. I don't want to do that. It'd be very hard for me to do that.
What if
So
he was forced to do that? Like, what if she was out of commission, health wise, and she couldn't physically go to the office or go to the job or work at all? Like what if that was the case, right? Or you know what?
but it's
That's
not the
naive, right?
case. But it's not the case.
What if that happened?
And
to
if
you?
it was the case,
What if
it's
that
very
was the-
simple. If it was the case, then obviously I would have to step up, or her family, or I just have her mom come over and help more. I'd have my mom come over and help over more. It's very simple. I'd find ways to make it work. It's very simple, but that's not the case. And what you
So
what you
what if that
illustrated
happened to you?
and what you illustrated with the men staying home and working, that's a new thing. It's very new, and it won't last very long. It never does. Anything that's new like that never really lasts. It's usually the sign of a declining empire. And so that won't last. It's the exception. The women that are in leadership roles, it's the exception. They typically don't feel
Exception.
it is the exception of the rule, because most of the leaders in the world are men. So women being the leaders are by
Yes,
definition,
Casper.
they are. Most of the leaders in the
Yes,
world
Casper.
are men. This is a fact. Most of the presidents in the world, most of the world leaders are men. There's a few women.
I'm saying it's cap. That is the exception that is made.
It is. You
know
obviously
how-
don't understand what exception means, because
Oh
exception.
no, I do.
So you know what a
I do.
rule is, right? And you know what the exception to the
Right.
rule is, right? So if there are a sliver of women who are in these roles and the majority of them are men, then the women who succeeded to get to those roles, however they did, are the exception to the rule. By definition. Whether you agree with that or not,
So
it's not even an
No,
insult
I
to
don't
women.
agree with that
I'm
at
just
all.
stating an objective fact. It's not an insult to women. If a woman can reach the top, okay, good for her. Do I think that she should be there personally? No, I don't. I think that she has more of a powerful position in society as a mother than she does running a company. That's my opinion.
Whoa, stop, wait, no. I'm gonna give you Michelle Obama because I love Michelle. Shout out to her. Michelle Obama is a wife, a mother, and a former First Lady of the United States of America. She was and is still a leader while also being a mother to 2 black daughters,
Okay.
2 black women, while also being wife to Barack Obama. There are women that are mothers that can also be in leadership positions.
So you're
I just
obviously
gave-
not
I
listening to me.
2.
I never said that couldn't happen. I just said that in my personal opinion, based on my view of history, what I have read, what I see in human nature, women are much better at staying home, making a beautiful family. They can make money from the home. I'm not opposed to women making money from the home. They just have to, in my opinion, be the ones who are raising the children, because where is your society going to get the morals and the ethics and your values from? The woman. And so it's a very important role for the woman. It doesn't mean that mom can't work as well. And she could work from home. And if she works outside of the home, yeah, she can do that as well. But what I'm saying is you're eventually going to have to sacrifice something for one of the other. So are you going to try and be the better mother, or are you going to try to be the better careerist? You can't do both. You can't do both.
Bro, you're not serious right now. Please tell me you did not just say that. Are you serious? Are you essentially, what you're essentially saying is that at some point, if she takes on like a leadership position or she takes up a job, period, that she has to choose to either be a mother or a worker.
No,
And
she
that's-
has to
that's-
choose what she's going to be better at. That's my exact words.
She could do both, though. She, could be
She
better
can
at
do
both.
both, but you have to choose which one you're going to be better at.
But why does she have to?
Because that's life. It's life. You can do both. Women can do both. All right, we're going to let one more guest in here. And then we're going to bounce because I got stuff I need to do. I didn't expect to be on this long. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, yeah, I just want to know why you said 26-year-olds can date 16-year-olds. Oh, you kicking me?
So, all right. I'm out of here. We'll be back tomorrow at around 11 o'clock. And, yeah, we'll go over some of the good news. And, yeah. So we've been going for about 2 hours and 20 minutes. I got a bunch to do. So, yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe everywhere, MOT Media. And, yeah, we'll be back here tomorrow. And don't forget, I think Sundays at 4:20, the sports guys are going to be on doing the live. They'll be here. And then you will have on, I think, Fridays, we're now moving over to the MOT Today. So, yeah. All right, guys. Much love. Peace.